Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome to another installment of the continuation of It Came From the Livestream. This really muddies up my own in-house numbering system of the It Came From the Workbench series. This is the workbench in question. Only sometimes I build things in the Livestream and it requires like this much more stuff to complete what was built during the live stream, which is the case we have today. This was built during the live stream of the 28th of February, 2025. So if you're at all curious as to how this rig came to be, you need to look no further than that, because I built everything aside from getting the correct length of the rear upper links. I had to do some little cleanup work. I had to mount the body. I had to find like some bumper mounts or what have you. Mount the electronics, charge up a battery. There you go. This is for my hetero life mate, my longest term friend. I want to say we met in 1991? Between 1990 and 1992. It's been far too long to remember. He has very little interest in his life for the toy cars, but he is a heavy loader operator, like the kind that has a bucket big enough that you could put a car in it. And they work out at plants where trucks bring in broken out concrete and rock and all that, and they crush it down into all sorts of different sizes. Then he uses the big loader, scoops it up, puts it in trucks, and the trucks take it to other places. So while they're out on these job sites, if possible, there might be times where they would rather not be actually working. So he said, you need to build me something so I can climb up the giant piles of varying types of debris. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. And then, 4 or 5 months later, he'd hit me up again. Hey, man, you should build me something so I can climb up the piles of work. Yeah, sure. Now, fast forward, in total, probably 2 years later, and he was here just a short time ago, and he was like, I'm not even going to ask if you're ever going to build something. And I was like, you know what? Just because I like to be contrarian. And he came at me sideways. I built it during the February 28th live stream, and it's a TRX-4. It's a TRX-4. The parts bins contained basically enough stuff for a TRX-4 to mate the TRX-4 with AR-45s. AR-45s are a pretty near letter perfect fitment if you want to put straight axles under a TRX-4. That is not something I advise to people regularly, because the TRX-4 gets virtually all of its gear reduction from the portals. The portal in a TRX-4 has a 9-tooth input gear and a 23-tooth output gear. This is a 2.36 to 1 reduction ratio at the portal. So it is a significant amount of portal reduction. This is offset slightly by the fact that the ring and pinion in a TRX-4 portal is 1134, whereas in these it's 830. So that's about 3.3 to 1 versus 3.75 to 1. It still makes for a huge amount of reduction, which means that inside the gearbox there is not a lot of reduction. And I don't know if the light shows it. The button is on top of the 2-speed servo. So if I'm putting straight axles mated to a TRX-4 gearbox, what we can anticipate is that we're probably going to get a little bit of wheel speed. There's a SenseCam 55 kg that I had used on a number of vehicles in the past and was not particularly blown away with it. It's not fast enough. It's not slow, but it's also not fast enough for what I like. And the helical gears in it, anyway, I felt like this was the perfect application. Flash Hobby 1080, and I had initially put in this guy right here, an Injora tuned machine 35 turn. And while doing the setup and testing on the floor in the shop, I was going back and forth, trying to get the steering to trim out. Back and forth. I picked it up and I went, it's actually kind of warm. So we threw in a big Holmes Crawlmaster Sport 550 13 turn, which should be approximately the same overall final speed. Still a 9-tooth pinion in there, which was put in during the live stream. Didn't have to change any links except the rear uppers. When everything finally got bolted together, the rear uppers were about 5 millimeters short. I ended up with nearly a perfect pinion angle, and I am a person who has in the past been relatively vocal about the borderline futility of making something with live axles go fast. And I stand by that, even though I've kind of built something which is live axles to go fast. Now, this is low, so that should give you some idea, because we have it set up right here. This is high. And I can stand by saying that live axles at speed is kind of just going to a store and buying yourself a headache, because stability issues tend to abound. But this isn't really live axles at speed, because we're probably going to get up into the teens. I don't even think it will probably do 20 miles an hour. It will be fast enough, because with the narrowish track, we ended with a track at 240 millimeters, 9.5 inches, and never even checked this. The 313. Well, 313 body, a Biddy design Rock 1, which honestly looks way more like the F-Series pickups that it is designed to represent, in my estimation. It looks way more like an F-Series pickup with it usually has big fender flares, but I cut them off because we're dealing with some stuff here. It looks more like a Ford F-Series pickup now. So, are we going to try to make it crawl? Well, of course we are. Everything that comes here, everything that gets built through here, gets a ghost ride. This will get painted in one way or another. My inclination is to just be like, yellow, day glow yellow, visibility. These are the wheels, these are the tires, these are more than likely the inserts. Desert Lizard shocks. No gearing change in the axles. At least, wait, let me see. Is that high? Okay, I can see it a little better in low. No, that looks exactly the same to me. We really don't want overdrive or underdrive, because I have no idea how fast it's going to go. I have no idea how it's going to handle. It is, of course, spools at both ends. It is an unmodified TRX4 gearbox. Did I complete a thought on why that was occurring in my head? Did I make it verbal? And then I consider the TRX4 to be the most versatile platform that there is. You can build a scaler. You can take a sport and just leave it as a sport. You can get a high trail or a low. You can build a straight axled thing to climb hills with some J Concepts Fling Kings on it at a job site. And I think I got all the seals in the receiver box. We got a 1080 WP, and the WP is waterproof. And we've got a servo that claims to be waterproof. There are Injora silicone greens in the tires. This thing should handle, and Desert Lizards, freshly rebuilt. This thing should handle all the ucky and mucky days. This thing should be a real good time, and toy cars are supposed to be fun. Element drive shafts, and you want to talk, like, getting them just perfect. Very fortunate, I must say, incidentally, that the selection of links, there's not a huge amount of pinion angle change. I think it's going to do okay, but we've got dirt out there. This thing is more about the dirt-oriented performance than it is about rock crawling performance, because I built this kind of semi-specifically not to be a rock crawler, because they're not going to go rock crawling with it. They're going to drive on rocks, but they're not going to rock crawl. So let's see how it does. The front axle, how'd we do? We did really good. There's a little bit of panhard related limitation. I had mentioned in the live stream I had to space the servo up 3 millimeters because I cannot find a stock TRX4 horn. We get the tiniest bit of swing. Oh my. At full squish over to this side, we probably have 3 or 4 millimeters. It was one of those things where I can't stop myself from obsessing over stuff that probably doesn't matter. Could not find a rear bumper to fit, so I just omitted one. Couldn't really find a front bumper to fit either, but that little 3D printed mount that was in the bins and whatever this tiny little bumper is from, you know, it's better than nothing. And look at that guy. He's looking pretty aggressive. He sits down nice on the Desert Lizards. Got that nice slow decel. 300 CST and all the shocks. We should. There's no reason that this won't go. Can we go slow? We can go reasonably slow. And good old Vanquish VT1, which is handy because if you're not familiar with the VT1, it's you can take it apart. You can take it apart and put it in your pockets. And it runs on AA batteries. I had to make it somewhat fuss-proof. Big old amidships 3S 5200 because we're existing in that nether space. Well, honestly, to be completely honest, kind of in the space occupied for me by the TRX4 High Trail. It's not really a crawler. It's not quite a basher. I feel like this because it is going to have a much lower CG. I don't know how well you can see it through the body. So you see the top of the battery, but look where the motor is. People sleep on the TRX4 because the TRX4 has a truly LCG gearbox. The top of the motor, the top of the receiver box and everything are barely level with the chassis rail. You can build whatever you want out of a TRX4, and I wanted to build this. So we're going to head out to the dirt, a little tiny bit of rocks, and we're going to see what it does because in a quick view of some time in the not too distant past, we found out that the J-Concepts Fling King will actually climb rocks, which is crazy. Like it shouldn't. It has no contact patch. But we're going to go do some things, and then we're going to send it off to its final destination. And I don't think I can't supply support equipment. I don't know how he's going to charge the batteries. I don't know. One of the patron saints of the canyon is Elsa. And when something goes, we let it go. Once it leaves here, it's somebody else's problem. Energy conserving by nature. I was really working to determine how am I going to get this first set up so that I can cover multiple aspects. Now, as I said, virtually all of the gear reduction in the TRX4 comes from the portals. We removed the portals, so this is low gear. And to be honest, if a vehicle was single speed, that would be perfectly fine. It's a little crisp. If I was setting something up more to trail than rock crawl, this amount of speed would be absolutely fine. On the drive back, Desert Lizards on the 300 CST feels remarkably stable. Turning circle looks decent. I am incapable of viewing something not considering its capability as a rock crawler. So, speaking of which, let's see if we can come around over here. I turned the drag brake rate down. I turned everything drag brake down. So we're not going to have that real rock solid hill hold, because when we're not on a rock, when we're in, say, second gear, I didn't want this thing to just throw on the clamps. Again, the Fling Kings do a Fling King thing, which is a vehicle with very little in the way of gear reduction. I want to say I'm trying to do the math in my head. I want to say like lower 20s. Output from the gearbox would be like 6.4, 6.5 to 1, I think. Somewhere in that neighborhood. And then 3.75 in the axle. So call it like 24, 25, 26 to 1. A lot of gear reduction for something that goes fast. But pretty insignificant gear reduction for something... Wait. A lot of gear... Yes, a lot of gear reduction for something that goes fast. Not uncommon for a go fast, like something that's independent suspension all the way around. Not uncommon for them to have like a final drive in the teens. But for a crawler, in the 20s is not a lot of reduction. We had to get that out of the way. It was an imperative. Because it will crawl better than it needs to, because what it's built to do is... Yeah, buddy. Oh. What is the most promising thing that we have seen recently and might see today? Look at that. Okay. My experience with live axle go fast is admittedly limited, okay? The Red Cat Wendigo is an atrocity. By extension, the Red Cat Marksman is a continuation of that atrocity. Those people don't know how to make live axles move at any speed. Let's be honest about it. The crawlers can't crawl, and the U4s, as they try to claim it, don't U4. I have a Losi laser nut, which in the U4 theme. I mean, it's a Tenacity Pro with longer arms and bigger tires to make it into something approximating a U4 vehicle. In its stock configuration, it is barely drivable. This is already more fun than those examples. The Rift, as it comes in stock configuration, is... I don't know what it is. It's geared to the moon. A 0.7 to 1 internal gearbox ratio. So the final on a Rift is like 16 or 18 to 1. It is geared like something to truly go fast, but nothing else about it like unsafe at any speed. That is what I anticipated here. We do not have a long wheelbase. We do not have a wild wheel track. We have very grippy, tall-lugged tires. We've got spooled diffs. It's just stuck to the ground. I was worried that the Injora Greens were going to be too heavy and that we'd get a velocity problem of them spinning. I know that's a bit of a tough cut for. Oh, there we go. Guys, we kind of have. We kind of have the first. Like, yeah, that's a bouncer. We just built a bouncer. This is a rock bouncer. You got to use some sauce to get it to where it wants to go. Of the things that I have built, we are in the midst. If you're not a routine follower, and I assume everyone is, so I feel like I'm telling people things that everyone that I'm telling already knows. In terms of a vehicle that can do this, but also climb rock, I feel like this is the best I've ever done. Like, this is kind of equally good at both things. The stability that we're having is not typical, in my experience, of the live axle at speed phenomenon. Maybe it's the width. Like a rift is as wide as this is long. Does that have something to do with it? I don't know. I don't know. We got a little celestial here, a little bit of celestial alchemy at play, because it shouldn't, right? Nothing about this should work. This is a full, it came from the parts bins. I didn't buy a single thing for this vehicle. And because it's so skinny, oh, kind of turned the bed inside out on that one. Little oh. I feel like and Flame King self-right like a monster. Is this the perfect basher? I mean, okay. I'm making efforts not to go too hyperbolic, but the chances of breaking this are relatively low, okay? It's really difficult, because of the shape of that body, to get it to land upside down, so you don't have to go and get it. Is it the narrow track? And a 1080 will indeed give you enough low speed control the sounds of those tires rubbing the body are great. I mean, right? Wait, you saw what it did, and you saw what it's doing. The TRX4, man. Now, imagine if it had a huge amount of money invested into it, and it had SSD straight axle conversions on TRX4 axles, and then we could have switchable differentials. You really got to use the side of that lug to grab. It's too good. It's early. It's certainly early. But it's too good at both things. In my experience, it is generally that you are exchanging one for the other. Either you're going to be able to crawl, or you're going to be able to go modestly fast. This isn't even approximating basher speed. This is enough speed to have fun, though. I keep, okay, here we go, here we go. Listen close. It lands on the tailgate and really turns that bed inside out. I mean, what's not to like? So I am definitely thinking that the fenders, the fender flares that I cut off the rear, I think those fender flares were what would prevent the bed from crinkling itself. I mean, it's too late for that. We're here. It's just the right amount of drag brake. Oh, get out. Why is it so stable? It should not be this stable. Is it the Fling Kings plus Injora Greens? What? Oh, wait, we gotta shift. Oh man. For a second, I thought that we were gonna get trapped upside down. And then I was like, what if I give it some, what if we use that gyroscopic effect? Does that sound right? Basically heavy wheel tire combos because of the silicone inserts. Look at the slow. Fling Kings, man. Fling Kings do Fling King things. In my estimation, in my fleet, I have an FMS FJ40. His name is Bruce. He is a terrible rock crawler, but my God, is he fun. This is nearly a comparable level of fun, but this is like stupid fun. When I drive Bruce the FJ40, it is just pure relaxation. Like it is the unwind. You never think about it in terms of performance. You just think about how good of a day am I having right now? That's kind of what that's this guy's vibe. Now, we can do this. We are in low gear. We can do this. Fling Kings will just maul their way to the top, come across. Real nice. But what if we wanted to be extra dumb? Well, I don't have enough torque in low gear. I overbound low gear. I overbound second gear. Oh man. I mean, in terms of successes being successful, who could not like this? We can go full formula off-road. I don't think in all my years, and I was a basher for over 30 years before I was a crawler. I don't think I've ever had a vehicle that I was more confident in the notion that I wouldn't have to get up and flip the thing over. Oh yeah. I may have built the perfect thing. And there's only one thing that can bring us crashing down from this cloud, and that is I'm going to drive it over here, and I'm going to put my finger on the motor. Because that is the real basher test. Do I have enough room to get my pinky on there? It's warm. I would say in the between 130 and 140. I'm a lathe turner and an RC guy from way back, so I have a fairly decently tuned finger for temperature. Go down the low again. I find low every bit as fun as high gear. It's got to be, it's just the sum of the whole is more than the sum of the parts. I was blown away by the performance of the Fling King. It's Shea Concepts Green Compound. I was blown away by it in the test, and I was like, I just wish I had something to put them on. And then my buddy came over because he had lost batteries for one of his drills, and I walked over to my bench and I picked up two and I said, do you mean these? And he goes, when did I give you these? And I go, you put them in my hands and said, hey, can you charge these for me? And then never came back. So that's how that works. So I gave him his batteries back. He gave me the idea in my head. I was like, what if I take those AR-45s that I've got laying around, the TRX4 gearbox that I just pulled out of a build that got a Stealth X swapped into it, pair those together, try to get something that's a little on the spicy side, throw those Fling Kings on it. Part of the fun of it is rolling it, because you know you're going to be all right. I'm trying to get it to roll out and land upside down, but it won't. Look at this guy. Built in the span of a single live stream. And then after the live stream, I spent about an hour mounting the body, making sure stuff was tight. I'd put too short of a screw in the drag link attachment. Basically, I had to change 2 links. 5 millimeters longer on the rear uppers. That was it. It's chassis mounted steering. It's live axles. It's running a 3S 5200 battery. Far bigger than I run in anything here that isn't dedicatedly a go fast. And now it's germinating in my head. Well, now you gotta build another one. This is just dumb fun. It definitely passes the test. Does it spark joy? Boy, does it. I turned that bed inside out again. There you get a better angle of maybe cutting the fender off. But this is a rewarding sound. Yeah, buddy. That's his signature sound, and I think in an homage to rigs choose their names. In an homage to a game that appeared on the somewhat lesser known video game console of times long gone by, the Turbo Graphics and later the Turbo Duo. There was a game where you played a little Neanderthal man whose only weapon was his head. That game was called Bonk's Adventure. I feel like this gentleman's name is Bonk now. Ladies and gentlemen, Bonk, a straight-axled TRX4 on Injora silicone-filled Fling Kings. I haven't had to get up to move him once. Don't you let me down, Bonk. And you know he ain't gonna. You ain't gotta get up. Bonk will use his head. Oh my goodness. What a thing. I generally film videos in sessions. I do multiple videos in one day. It's how I stay sane. This is the first video that I've filmed on this day, and what a way to start the day. Bonk, the straight-axled TRX4 Formula Off-Road Basha Crawler, because we can go down to low gear and come right over here. Do we get any purchase up in there? Yeah, we can. Sure, why not? Oof, that smells real earthy. I think some of those logs are decomposing a little bit. Get a little Formula Off-Road on it? Come on, come on. I mean, it's too good. So Bonk and I thank you for joining us here in the canyon. What a way to start the day. I hope your day goes as well as mine has begun. I thank you for joining us here in the canyon for this fantastic interlude in the morning. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I hope that in between now and then you one and all do your very best to have a good run. We will see you again here from the canyon. You might not see Bonk again. If he sends me any pictures from Bonk climbing hills on the job site, I will be sure to post them up on the community board. He's full of sticks. He's
we have to zoot. He's extra spicy. He thanks you for joining us, everybody.